ones they suspect to be hyperandrogenic based entirely on appearance. And by appearance, I mean femininity. And by femininity, I mean white femininity. So you have to perform white femininity in the right way. And so it's no coincidence that, like, you look at famous Black sprinters and how much makeup and their nails were done. Like they felt like they had to perform femininity. When Castor was first outed as hyperandrogenic intersex, the first sports cover she did was in a dress and makeup, which is not what she feels comfortable in, right? Also, she's queer, she's a lesbian, right? So this shit is also relevant, right? So not straight, not white, not non-intersex. All of this is, so yeah, like that's part of why I said, not only do we need to get away from the testosterone bullshit because it does not have the performance effects people think it does, but what's really going on is we need to get away from policing femininity, period. And yeah, so in the Dr. Neil saying the way that Serena Williams is attacked, the Anna Kournikova spoof of like her and her big butt was a big scandal like 10 years ago. And then there was that very racist cartoon against her, and I think it was Naomi Osaka, with her throwing a temper tantrum and like a pacifier on the court. So yeah, like it is absolutely, it's a policing of femininity that is rooted in white femininity, and a particular frail white femininity. So there's this belief that we must protect and save women's sports from the strong women. And that is fucking sexist as hell.
And I want to tap into the athlete part, right? You being an athlete, one of the things that, as I combat the arguments about blacks taking over in this the myth of the natural athletic superiority, we talk about how it de-emphasizes anybody's work, which you've talked about before, right? You being a power lifter, all the work that you put in. When it comes to cis girls, if the message becomes, nope, they beat you because, not because of hard work, not because of all commitment and energy. Again, there are these natural range of differences. Why, that's part of what I was getting at. This is part of what hurts, cis girls.
Well, there's also, so I said, I sort of threw out and I said, hey, we'll do some question period. So here we are, that there are sociological effects causing the gender gap that we see between men and women, either at peak or averages. So we have been seeing the world records gap closing over time in every sport, some faster than others. Usually the longer the distance, the gaps have either completely closed or crossed over. So women are winning ultramarathon races, for example, over men in the same race. And in like the Ironman triathlon, some women are coming third overall, sort of thing. But we don't know how big these sociological effects are. So we treat pregnant women differently based on the expected sex of the child. And we treat babies differently, physically based on their perceived sex. So fathers have been shown to play more roughly with boys than girls. We encourage boys to play sports and to do dangerous things like climb trees or whatever, and we actively discourage girls from doing those things. We give boys sports gifts for presents, and we give girls like domestic gifts like dolls and homemaking stuff. So like that's sociological, that is not biological, but sociological stuff has biological effects. There are no physiological differences between boys and girls pre-puberty, but boys are faster. Why is that? They're encouraged more. Girls are discouraged from being buff and looking mannish, right? Every like women's health magazine is focused on like getting stronger without looking mannish. Like that's sociological, that's inhibiting performance. Also, the freedom of movement to take up space is gendered and sociological, and it has performance effects that we don't know how to measure yet. So yeah, like it's just like, also on the diminishing thing, like I train like an Olympian. I train twice a day, 6 hours a day 4 to 5 days a week. A lot of the women I'm beating don't train that much. I'm just out training them, or they have shit tactics. In the sort of VIP meeting we had, I showed some of the videos of me winning the world championship, and I showed the tactical error my opponent made. I beat the world number 4 a few years ago, like at the elite level, like the world elite number 4. I beat her in one race because she messed up her tactics so badly that I took advantage of that. And she's way faster than me. It's just tactics can matter. It's not so simple as like the faster athlete or the stronger athlete always wins. There's tactics and mind games and all that kind of other stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating to talk more about the sociological. When you think of specialization, which you talked about in your talk, you can expect that over time, right? Girls are going to get faster because they're getting more encouraged than they were previously, right? So you see the gaps when you're looking at women. Those gaps are being, they're continuously breaking records because finally there's more and more opportunity. The Olympics, the 400-meter hurdles is a perfect example where you have Dalilah Muhammad and Sydney McLaughlin, who are now running as fast in the 400 with hurdles as women used to run without hurdles, right? So perfect examples. I want to talk about that in terms of, for trans and intersex girls, the obstacles that can happen at younger ages. Again, with all of the hate that's going on, how does that limit participation for trans girls and intersex girls?
They are terrified, absolutely terrified. More of parents than of the other children. A lot of what's going on with that Connecticut lawsuit is the parents and the ADF, the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a ultra far right hate group, that this is what they do, right? They try to find these lawsuits to take down liberal values and stuff. So I think the children are being used as pawns for the most part. But one of the messages I get so often, the thing that keeps me going, quite frankly, are like parents of trans kids or trans athletes themselves of any age messaging me and just being like, thank you so much for just being out there, just being visible, just being vocal, and like showing the data and just like humanizing us. And I think that's a lot of what's been lost, is that oppression works by dehumanizing people, right? That's the only way that you can treat people the way they're trying to treat us. And they are trying to ban us from society. So they tried the bathroom bills. That failed. I believe that this sport fight is only a proxy war for having lost the bathroom bill fight. So if you notice, I said that trans people were first openly, explicitly allowed in the Olympics in 2004, and there was nary a peep. There was no huge backlash in 2015, 2016. There was some murmuring, but the sky didn't fall. No trans athletes. Nothing in 2018. Suddenly, in October 2018, shit hit the fan. What happened? That jersey happened, right? A trans woman who's 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, won a world championship, even though it's a Masters World Championship, and they always forget that detail. And that was just too much for them. The thing is, even in my own performances, so in the 2018 World Championships, I came 4th in the time trial and 1st in the sprint. And here's the thing that no one's reporting. I say this all the time, that the woman who won the time trial, where I came 4th, Sarah Fader, US rider, so in the sprint qualification, I broke the world record. And then while the UCI is doing all the stuff they do to ratify a world record, Sarah re-broke the world record. So she won the time trial and she qualified 1st, breaking my world record that I just broke or just made. So the only 2 times I've raced that woman, she beat me. And then she pulled out of the sprint competition, claiming it was unfair to race against a trans woman. So She beat me in the time trial. She beat me in qualifying. Then she pulls out of the sprint in protest that it's unfair. How the fuck does that make sense? And yet people want to listen to them, right? They want this story of cis women frailty and trans woman dominance and maleness and male energy, which is just bullshit. And it has this trickle down to our girls, our children. And in the US particularly, what these states are trying to do by banning children from being on teams is they're not taking away sport, they're taking away play. And play is absolutely crucial in childhood social, physical, emotional, and psychological development. And that's what they're attacking. Fucking kids. They just want to play with their friends. Chill the fuck out. So it is an all-out culture war, and the effect is that the kids are terrified, and rightly so. And I feel so bad for them. And that's what keeps me going.
You know, it's in looking at the youth, and I wonder about, you know, those young black girls from Connecticut, right? Just thinking about them having to deal with that. You know, we
It has
haven't
huge performance effects on them.
got
So
to.
like I have PTSD and anxiety from the harassment of being this level of athlete that I am. I have truly dedicated stalkers, and the organizers of this event have had to deal with some of them already, trying to infiltrate this and Zoom bomb us. That it's fucked me up. I'll be perfectly honest. Like going to a competition for me is a trigger, and I have to do so much mental preparation and so much like emotional work just to show up. And like I was on track to make the Tokyo Olympics, to be perfectly honest. After the 2018 season, I was on track through 2019 to keep developing. The problem is winning that world championship in October 2018 and the descending of the right wing reaction, like that's what just blew up my PTSD, and then it absolutely destroyed my performances. So yeah, it can't but affect your performances when you have to be 100% focused, especially in like a power event where it is max effort, all out, empty the tank. You can't be worried about what someone's going to think if you win. Like absolutely it's having performance effects on Terry and Andrea and me and other girls. I mean, Laurel Hubbard in the Olympics, the weightlifter, I wouldn't be shocked if she missed her lifts because of this bullshit.
You know, we got to talk about tactics earlier in the pre-event, and the chess match. And I hear in how you present your data, right? I had to do this actually as an academic fighting against fighting for my tenure case, where you have to present the negatives to talk about yourself, right? And so a lot of what you've presented is, you know, hey, look, we're not winning. Hey, we're not competing. And at the same time, that doesn't allow us to celebrate what a trans girl might be doing and an intersex girl might be doing. And I got to imagine that's, of course, where we want to get to, but it's just not a safe space yet. But can you talk a little bit about, you know, the tactics of that? And then, you know, what about when we can celebrate trans and intersex achievements?
I have a dream. That that one day we will be celebrating exceptional women, no matter their gendered history. And we are nowhere near that, even for cis women. So it really bothers me that I see media interviews of other successful athletes, and the interview is just about like celebrating their performance.